they really approach this work from this place of internal transformation and coming from within. And as we are focusing on these issues in our community, I wanted to bring it back to who we are. So I wanted to leave space for that. And then after we do that, I really, our humble city leaders who are sitting in the back of the room, I would really love to hear some comments from you just on what you heard today. You heard 4 issues that really matter to our youth in Mountain View. And I'd love to just hear some comments on that, and then we'll close. So I'll let Pancho take it away.
Jai Jagat, Gloria al planeta, glory to the planet. Many of you don't know me, but I'd like you to know that I love you all.
We love you too.
Love you too.
And this is a very close topic to our heart where we live in East Oakland, because even though the rent there is stabilized in a way, you see that they could escalate when we are not based on relationships and we're based on profit and money. When you know how we are affecting these families that need to move and that they're breaking them apart, then in order to increase the rent, to make them go away, to displace these families, now you're going to buy the whole building or buy the whole house, and it's going to have the same impact. So for some years we were living in Casa de Paz there, and there was a point that we said our work to
Link up and bridge the gap. Link up and bridge the gap.
Our work to link up and bridge the gap has been that our work is too valuable to be sold. So there was a couple of months that we didn't even have the money to pay rent. Well, the landlord was really loving what we were doing there, and he said, no, we like that, so you can stay there without paying 2 months of rent. And then later, if we have a donation, we just give it to him, but that's kind of like, how are we going to connect with these people? And I think that that's where the touching of the heart and the story that Nipun shared about this person that you want to connect with the heart to make bridges, no walls. So I'm going to share with you an image of an iceberg. It's a metaphor of an iceberg and 2 brief stories. The image of the metaphor of the iceberg is, imagine yourself or the work of inspiring people like Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King Jr., or Gandhi. And you see the nonviolent civil disobedience and the direct action, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's 1% of the iceberg. That's not even the whole visible thing. The whole visible thing is 10% of the whole thing. Does anybody know why this happens? Why the ice float on liquid water? It's lighter, so the density is crazy. How is it that this world is developed in such a way that ice, the solid water, is less dense than liquid water? Well, that's why it just floats, because when you displace 90% of that amount of water and equals the weight, then you have this phenomenon, let's call an iceberg. So that is just 1%. Then the next 9%, you would say, is the things that you see. Is a constructive program, the alternatives. You know, the youth initiative for housing, or the gentrification awareness project, and all these things that you actually see. And 90% of all the rest, you don't see it. And that's the personal transformation. That's the time that you spend in receptive silence, putting your mind and your heart and your hands aligned. That's the time that you connect with a neighbor, or that you do not react with more violence and more reaction, that you say that that's not who I am, and I'm going to reach out. The empathy of stories, or the hug that we have to our sister Cindy, when she was open her heart in vulnerability, and then the sisters embody that love and say, we embrace you, sister, we love you, it's okay. Look at me in the eye. That is what you don't see in those petitions or when you're connecting, but it's 90% of our work. That's the most important piece. And that's what Gandhi was saying, that if you really would like to reach and touch the heart of people, you need to work very hard. First in personal transformation, then on the alternatives that you don't like the system, great. It doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. It's rotten. We need something new, but what are you proposing? Well, we're proposing these kind of things. And the very little tiny thing is a nonviolent civil disobedience and boycotts and marches, but that's a tiny little piece of all the work that we need to get done. So the two stories. The first story is of a person that lived with Gandhi for 23 years. He was 90 years old when we heard his story. And he said that when his first encounter with Soulforce, with Satyagraha, was when he was 8 years old. And that was in the middle of the independence of the part of the planet we call India. And there was a huge boycott about to not get any foreign goods from the part of the planet we call England. No British goods. You're going to have all your stuff you're going to do yourself, from clothing to toys to everything. This kid heard in the community, his community, so you're connected, you hear this. Oh, there's some toys that sent to me and my friends, and we haven't seen him I've seen them in a month. What's up with that? So he went, very, courageous to kind of, I think I'm gonna win this battle. And he said, like, Bapu, as it called, Dad, like, Gandhi, like, I heard that someone sent some toys for us, actually for me. Is that true? And Gandhi, no lies, and yeah, that's true. Yes, no. Well, is that true that you are hiding them from us? And he's like, no, look, that shelf, all the toys, right, in the shelf, because Gandhi was in the spinning, doing his own clothing. And, okay, right there, win. What's the next one? Well, we won them, we want to play, hello. And then in Gujarati, the language they speak there, there's two ways to say we. We that all here in this room, that's one kind of we, and another we is you and I together, just you and I. So Gandhi used that second way of saying you and I, and ask, like, knowing all the context, and say, can you and I, can we play with those toys? And little Arun, little Narayan Desai, 8 years old, he knew that Gandhi was not playing with any foreign stuff, that he was cocky, that all the kids were like, oh no, like, oh, they just went all disappointed. And then Arun was like, Narayan Desai was saying, wow, that's my first encounter, that I was like an opponent, I was like confronting, I'm gonna fight with Gandhi, and what he did, he wanna play with me. And I couldn't get those stuff, and so you hold to that truth and touch the heart of the opponent. And what happened? This kid that I was 8 years old devoted his whole life until he was 90 when he died last year to the Soulforce, to love, to connect, to link up and the last story is what I tried to learn a little bit from one of these teachers was, maybe you heard about the movement of Occupy that was escalating their violence. So long story short, there was a lot of brothers and sisters that were impacted by gentrification, by immigration, that they don't have places where to go. We have a beautiful community in Oakland downtown. We have libraries, we have food, everything. Well, last thing you know, the 160 tents are going to be raped up, and there was already a shooting, a brother being killed. So all violence escalating, and the police is going to raid. So we say, well, we're going to go there, and we're going to escalate our, bridge that gap with love. We don't want to exacerbate this thing. So, long story short, we went there, meditated, and we got arrested for meditating. And the brother that wanted to deport me, first of all, it's impossible to deport a citizen of the world. Right? Let's send it to the moon or something, because we're going to be doing this work all over the planet. Well, this is the sheriff of the Alameda County, Brother Greg Ahern. He really wanted to deport me. There was like many people saying, no, you cannot do that. And I don't care if he doesn't have documents. It's another of 11 million guys here doing crime. He's an illegal, so we're going to deport him. So because of all the links and all the gaps that we've been creating, he couldn't. And La Migra, ICE, couldn't deport me either. And they've been trying to do, the government imposed in this part of the planet has been trying to do this for the last 3.5 years. And they cannot, because we're like a tree that has so many love roots that is hard. And they can. So what I said, let's bridge the gap with Brother Greg Akron. So we went and have tea together. So we connected, and we have tea together. And I said, you know, forget about our political agendas, anything. You know, what matters right now is the 90% of the iceberg. Let's connect at the 90%, bro. And we just forget about that. He was like, what? You were a PhD student, a grad student at UC Berkeley, and you, like, stopped cooperating with that? My daughter loves astronomy. Why do you know about the Hubble? We talk about, you know, the Hubble pictures that were there, and the new Earth-like planets. And long story short, at the very end, because one of our motto was, like this Occupy movement, we say, we're the 99% facilitating the healing of the 100%. So he knew that. And at the very end, what he finished up saying to me, after all this, that he knew that he wanted to be out of this, like, oh, and this is kind of different. And he said, you know what? My job is to protect a few. Your job is to protect all. I keep doing my job, and you could keep doing yours. We shake hands, and we leave, and I'm still around. So, what we need to recognize again is all that work, all that 90% of the iceberg that is real, the personal transformation, and start thinking of the constructive program, the alternatives, and then be ready for that 1% that is super, and don't get me wrong, it's super important to stand up, and this is what's happening. But when you wanna, if they wanna pull you out, you have enough roots. And how, at the end of the day, this is a gift from a very sweet community that we have. We call it the service-based community. So this is a gift for you all. And because at the end of the day, we all share this planet. For the first time in human history, we are able to detect planets like the Earth in other stars. And for every star that you look in the sky now we know, we have a guesstimate, that there might be one Earth-like planet around one of those stars. So now next time that you look at the sky, think twice. Like, what? There might be a world over there? So if you think that the Earth is but one country and all living beings are citizens, this is what it means. It doesn't matter what country, what religion. What we need to do is to listen. Someone said that, right, Emily, right? Like empathy and listening. So if we listen to Mother Earth, this is the greatest neighborhood. So there's no way that we can gentrify that because you're displacing, but it's just the same. So how do we take each other first on the heart level and say like, yeah, there's no human beings that are illegal. They're illegal thoughts. And so how do we connect with the heart so that we all can live harmoniously, peacefully, and joyfully?
Okay, so if that doesn't inspire you to act, I would love for you guys, so if we're in service of that 90% underneath that iceberg, let's identify, turn to a person next to you, and let's identify one act of love that you would like to take. And while you do that, I'd like the city leaders to come up to the front, and also all of our fellows to come up to the front, and we're going to do a closing ceremony with them. So if you wouldn't mind coming up, that would be amazing. And while they come up, please talk to your partner or your neighbor and identify one act that